Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Adam Green here with nomorenews.org. It is October 28th, 2019. And joining me today, host of Red Ice, who was recently banned from YouTube, Henrik Palmgren. Thank you, Henrik, for coming on to discuss the latest censorship.
Hey Adam, how's it going? Nice to be with you again. Hope everything is good with you.
Yeah, I think last time you were on, you were like on your backup channel. So I feel like we're having deja vu, kind of doing this again.
It keeps on repeating. Well, now it's not going to keep on repeating, is it? At least not for us.
Yeah, this possibly could be my my last show on YouTube. Is this your first video on YouTube since you've been banned on the backup channel?
No. I've done five, six maybe shows, something like that. So I don't think it's going to be an interesting experiment, right? But am I personally? Was it me, YouTube? What did I do wrong? Is it me or is it Red Ice? Right? Is it the media company, the independent alternative media company that's banned? I don't know because we haven't gotten any answers. So we'll see. I was going to actually upload. I have a personal channel on YouTube, which again is not a circumventions of technologies, although they use that on our backup channel, but it's not because we didn't set that up after the main one was banned. And since we didn't get an email that says if you have any other channels on YouTube, you must remove those immediately. I haven't seen that, right? So I'm not doing anything wrong. But I have a personal one, so I'm just going to upload some video, probably like, I don't know, playing with Rorik or doing something around the house or in the yard or something.
Test it,
and just see what happens. That'll be interesting. So.
Or you could just make a video and start a channel called Blue Fire, and you could be a SJW and you can hate yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, you know what? You're right. I mean, in one way, I think even if I did it under a new, like, let's say I do a new company or something, is that not allowed? What is the criteria here? It's very interesting. So we'll see what happens.
We're going to show some of the criteria. I was just reading through some new stuff today that I found interesting. It's kind of like you're the expelled kid. You got expelled from school, excommunicated, and like you're sneaking back in to spread your love speech.
After hours, to indoctrinate the other kids.
So if my audience doesn't know, why don't you talk about how many subs you had and how many videos, how long your channel, and just all taken away in a snap.
2009, we started the channel. Been doing the Red Ice Radio since about 2006, and really started investing a lot more time into the YouTube channel around 2014, 15, 16. And then in 16, we finally went over to doing a lot more video, and kind of the main show, we kind of revamped that a little bit, made sure that was kind of almost a little bit more like a TV show, a little bit more well-produced, camera, videos, and stuff like that. That's really when it started to grow. So we got up to 334,000 subscribers, and then it was yanked here October 17th, I think it was, that it was yanked. And then the backup channel, we had about 20,000 subs over there, and that was yanked about a week later after some pressure from I believe it was SPLC that took responsibility definitely for the backup, but possibly even for the main one as well. I'm not sure if it was a collective effort between the enemies of humanity or if it was just kind of a one man or one group job. That remains to be seen. But they're all very very happy that we're gone, and they they supposedly think that they're going to win this way. So we'll see. We'll see.
They're not done. They're not done. This is just it's a big accomplishment for them. I'm sure they're very proud and they're all celebrating, but there's still more to come, I think.
Yeah, obviously, yes. They'll never be happy, and even if people tone down, even if they become so restrictive that essentially the content is so boring and pathetic that there's like nothing of value in there, they still are going to start. They're still going to call for the banning of people.
So look at this. I think SPLC 2 articles about your second channel being taken down. Like, these guys are losers. Writing 2 articles about a backup channel with like 20,000 subs being taken down. Like, embarrassing.
Yeah, there was the woman. Well, if you can call her that, was kind of an interesting lady who's behind that. They seem to have a lot of issues, even on a personal level. They have so many issues there over at SPLC. They're essentially collapsing from the inside. The main founder, of course, Maurice Dees, is a co-founder of SPLC. He became millionaire on peddling hate, peddling in the sense that it's out there. We got to stop this. Give us money, and we'll make sure that all this hate goes away. Give us money. He got very wealthy on that, but he has had lawsuits of his own. It's been collapsing from the inside. It has been there's internal accusations of racism, of sexual harassment. There's all kinds of issues with the new employees that have gotten in there after many of the people have actually left this burning ship. That's the SPLC. And some of them are alcoholics. They have had mental issues. They have mental issues.
Well,
so
they're
it's
a
not the
hate
finest,
group.
finest bunch over there, Adam. It's kind of, they have some major issues.
They're a hate group, and for some reason the media, all the media puts them on and pretends that they're credible. So
yeah,
that's the way things go, apparently.
They still have that, but that's not going to last forever. There's a lot of there's a lot of organizations that are going to begin to kind of fall apart. And if you look at the numbers that they get too, I mean, this is another reason why they want to censor competition and people that are bringing interesting content to people that people out there want to hear. They don't get any views on their videos. It's pathetic. And I mean, and these are like $1 million organizations that are being run with like foundation money, and like they have all these people. 100 in some cases, exactly. I mean, ADL is. I mean, it's probably one of the more well-funded organizations out there, especially in that kind of with that niche or whatever, trying to target dissidents and people they disagree with. But yeah, I mean, no one wants to see their stuff. It's boring, But so the idea is to try to like take out the competition, make sure that you shut down people that are able to reach people, people that are interesting, that are reasonable, people that speaks to people and that people can identify with, and maybe still that people think is entertaining. It's valid, or what do you call it? It's important to people to get information about things that you can't hear anywhere else. I mean, that was the upside with YouTube. Otherwise, you can just kind of turn on your TV and get that information there. But what was great about YouTube is that you can get all those kinds of things which you couldn't hear anywhere else. And I've said this many times now, but that's what built YouTube. In the early days, YouTube became what it became because you had very interesting content creators that have different takes, different opinions, stuff you couldn't hear anywhere else. Those are the people that brought all the crowds to people, that made sure that Google eventually, that bought the platform, could monetize it in the way that they have and turn it into kind of that business venture that it is today. But of course, YouTube has gone on to essentially kick those people in the face, because anyone that has anything which is remotely interesting and differing against the establishment or different opinions, they essentially block or shadow ban, or they quarantine it, or as in our case, they just ban it outright because they hate the speech that we bring, right? So they call our speech hate speech because that legitimizes them shutting us down. And many people who are not aware of this, or not politically aware, they go along with this and they think, well, they probably deserve it, right? Like Keemstar, he did a search for Red Ice TV after we were banned, and he saw that the communist that comes up first there, Vosh, and he looked at that video to make the judgment on Red Ice on what we are, right? And this guy, by the way, Vosh too, I saw that today. There's a clip out. I linked it up. He's actually. He calls us Nazis and all the usual stuff, racists, and these bad words, fascists and stuff like that. I saw a clip with him today where he said that he doesn't have a problem with pedophiles selling and purchasing. That's the one, pornography, right there. In other words, he's okay with people literally economically profiting from child rape. That's the nature of the guy that is listed highest in YouTube search records right now when you search Red Ice TV. That's the quality of the man right there.
Yeah, well, they got you off. Your channel you had it since like 2006, I believe you said.
2009.
Were you past 100 million views for total views before they started hacking away at your dozens of your most popular videos?
I think I said that somewhere, and I think that's wrong, but it was definitely. It was climbing towards that, but I know that they started chipping away at these like 1 million kind of view videos, and those that were close to 1 million, and that was probably, how many of those were there? Maybe 10. I'd say maybe we got us anywhere between 50 and 60 million views totally. I think something like that.
So clearly popular, clearly legitimate. The people are following you. They care what you say, but now on YouTube, all you can find is the videos attacking you are at the top.
Yeah, yeah.
That seems
Great.
fair.
It's great, huh?
Yeah.
There's some that re-upload, and we encourage people to do that too. Use the same titles or and re-upload them to your channels. You have our permission to do that. The only thing, I've said this before too, but the only thing we ask people to do is, if someone out there has a membership, just respect the stuff that we upload that's just for members, so that we can continue that, and that incentivizes people to go and sign up and continue to support us, so we can continue. But otherwise, anything that we upload to like Red Ice TV or to our BitChute or to Facebook videos or that you see streamed to DLive or our Twitter through Periscope, whatever. If you remember, you can go in and grab those videos. It's 1080p copies. Grab those from the member site, download those, and then you're free to upload those. Set up a new channel so you don't risk your own or something like that. Or if you want to upload on your own channel too, that's perfectly fine. So help us compete some of these this bad negative publicity out of existence on YouTube.
You guys are being too effective and having too much success, and you are too popular, and that's admittedly what these hit piece articles say about you guys, is that they cry when you guys made $100 when you guys got a super chat for $100. These people are funded by
they're $100 million.
Yeah,
hundreds of millions in some cases. Exactly. This is how pathetic it is, and it's like. And also what's interesting is that we're not, mega globalist, millionaire founded. We don't have foundation money. We don't have big media establishment. Data and Society is one of these big voices or big organizations out there that manage to kind of push YouTube a little bit over the edge when it comes to starting censoring. And actually, the most important thing that happened after that report was was released, the Alternative Influence Network report by Data and Society, was that YouTube started restricting channels. It was presented as a scientific study, this thing, but it was not. Anyone who looked at this said this is pathetic. They don't even know what they're doing. They linked people wrong. That it wasn't backed up with any claims. They just said, oh, these are all the channels, and there's cross pollination between audiences. Ban them all. Essentially, that was the call, right? And so YouTube went in with this like special algorithmic thing where they restricted most of those channels that were listed in that report. And again, to get to the point, Data and Society, funded by George Soros, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, New York Times, Ford Foundation, mega globalist organizations. We are funded by the people, by people who want to hear this, who want to make sure that message gets out there. These groups could never do that. You think SPLC could fund itself on just like being by having a YouTube channel and to popular appeal, try to raise money from people through donations or something? I mean, they would never be able to do that.
If it was like the free market and the competition ideas, they'd be out. It's all big billionaire fundings that's behind it.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And we've highlighted too in the last couple of shows that we've done. We've highlighted the United Nations Charter for Human Rights. It actually, there's a clause in there about free speech, and it says, to boil it down, it says that what YouTube is doing right now is a violation of human rights. Hate speech doesn't exist. The Supreme Court already ruled on this. And again, why is this an issue? Well, my personal platform. It's a private company. They can do whatever they want. Blah blah blah. It's not true. It's funded. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but it has received massive amounts of money from the American government, meaning taxpayer money. Then on top of that, to make things worse, they do have special protection under Section 230 Communications Decency Act, and that means they have the protection of a platform, but they still behave in a publisher in the sense that they pick and choose, just like New York Times or any other media outlet, where they say, no, this video needs to go on the front page. It's not like pure in its algorithm. It's not like whatever is trending, whatever is popular ends up on the trending page or on the front page. That's not how it is, especially when they go in and they give money to certain creators. It's a clear left-leaning, pro-globalist kind of political agenda of the creators that they support or that they promote or put on the front page and stuff like that. So right now they're doing both things at the same time. So what needs to happen here is there needs to be lawsuits. There need to be class action lawsuits against these companies, because they're also meddling in elections. They're restricting people's voices. All they need to do, all we're asking for is them to uphold U.S. law, recognize the First Amendment, and since they're in a country that has signed the UN Declaration of Human Rights, uphold those. If we've done that, there wouldn't be any problem, right? People might be offended. They might disagree. they might think we're very bad people and all that kind of stuff, and that's fine. But then the website has a number of functions for you to block those channels and those creators, so that you don't have to see that, you don't have to subscribe, you don't have to look at those things. But as we know, and you know, Adam, too, it's not about that. It's about going in and meddling and restricting people's ability to communicate and partake in the political discourse, share their ideas, bring a different take on things. I mean, even if you go to like youtube.com/YT for YouTube /about, read what they have there on their mission statement of like freedom of expression, freedom of opportunity. I think it's even something about freedom of business, that everyone should be able to create what they want to and voices to be heard, and discuss interesting, important events in the world and get there to, it's like, all that's just BS. It's just bullshit. They don't even believe in that anymore themselves.
Definitely not. The rules are just arbitrary. I'm going to show you YouTube's own blog that they did about it. But in the meantime, you still got the BitChute. Good thing they're up. And I see you're at 21,000 subscribers. That's compared to almost 350 you had on YouTube. But people are going to leave. People are going to transfer over to BitChute. And then the subs are going to start going up and the views are going to go up. And they're going to start coming for BitChute too. And that's when it's really going to get out of control. When they don't allow alternatives. It'll have to be like monopoly, antitrust stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's even some alternatives already, right, that they've been trying to go after. Look at, in the wake of some of these violent acts, just because some of the people operated on certain websites, those websites, if they're small enough, if they're independent, and if they're alternative, they're the ones that are held responsible, like Gab was, like 8chan was, right? So they are happy if something happens to pin it on them and say it's your responsibility. On the other hand, you can have people who live stream violent assaults and even murders on Facebook, on YouTube. They use Twitter to do abusive behavior and all that kind of stuff, but there's no call for them to delete or remove or even restrict or control these platforms in those instances. So it's only about removing the competition. And as you say, at some point, and I think we're already there. I think that's met now with so many other good channels being removed already. James Alsop, of course. We are removed now. Some have luckily gotten their channels back, like Black Pigeon Speaks, Iconoclast, Way of the World. They got their channels back. Vari, Thulian Perspective, he did not get it back. He had like 200,000 subs, I think.
High Impact Flicks lost his channel with 500,000 subs and got it back after like 7 months or something.
7 months. That's amazing. I don't know what he did, or if he did anything, or if someone just flick the switch back. I'm not sure what happened, but
how about, I forgot to ask you, all the other platforms that you've been banned from, not just social media, but banking, Coinbase. That's the one that really blew my mind. Even Bitcoin, it's supposed to.
Yeah, the alternative, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even have them all in front of me. I'll see if I can list them off, but it's
PayPal.
I mean, it's bordering on the absurd, right? Because it's like, these people, they can disagree with us. They can hate us for what we say or our opinions. But at some point, surely, they must present what the evidence against me or against us really is, and give us a chance to respond or give our side of the story of these things.
This is how Twilight Zone it is, okay? The big thing they say is, I'll show it in the hit piece on you. You guys talk about white replacement, and they say that's a conspiracy theory. But then at the same time, we're in clown world. They also say it's happening and it's a good thing, and we should encourage it to happen more. And then they say it's a conspiracy and it's not happening, and anybody that talks about it happening, you guys aren't racist. You guys expose racism. You guys suppose supremacy, just like I do. And it's just because it's exposing them, the people that are in charge of doing all the censorship. I mean, it's completely obvious what's happening. They're the bad guys. We're the ones with the moral high ground.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why the only option they have is to silence us, because we make too much sense. We reach people. It was effective. People do commend us on our production quality and stuff like that, and they like it. It looks good, and we package it nicely, and so it gets out there, right? And so they can't deal with that. We just have to shut it down. They can hate us. They can they can try to they essentially they can hate us, but they can't prove us wrong. right? They can't prove us wrong, and that's why they never rebut any of the things that we're talking about. Or they might say, as you said there, oh well, that's a proven conspiracy theory, and it's like, well, no, it's not. It's just like, if it's happening and if it's observable, it doesn't matter what they say. They their opinions doesn't conform to reality, But so yeah. Anyway, but yeah, as you said, let's quickly list those off, right? Okay. PayPal, Venmo, Skrill, Wells Fargo, personal account and business account. These are financial institutions in the United States, land of the free and home of the brave, right? First Amendment. People fled to United States of America to escape this kind of behavior by not only, of course, it's not government in this instance, but it's aided by the government, and there's no protection by the government in place that restricts these companies of doing this, right?
It's like China or North Korea levels is what we're getting to now, and it's like at a tipping point where if it's like we start letting this happen, it's just going to really escalate and go downhill from there
very quickly. And again, there's some studies right now, free speech, a lot of millennials are like, yeah, put people in prison. It's like 41% is like, yeah, just imprison them. It's like, to say something I don't like, I'm offended, yeah, put them in jail. It's like, oh, okay, this will end really well. I'm laughing a lot here. It's sad and it's horrible, because what's at the end of this is literally like prison camps and gulags. Like the Cheka and the Stasi is being formed right now, of all these snitch organizations and individuals that are running around kowtowing to the establishment, agreeing with this behavior without. And again, these were the people that were they were right there in the 1960s free speech movement at Berkeley. Yes, we need to get a foot in through the door. You need to let us in. And now what's happening? They're doing exactly the same that they claim was being done towards them back in the 60s. Right now they have the control. They don't care about free speech anymore. It's not fun anymore, because now we're proving them wrong, right? So
they're complete hypocrites, and this is something that really ticked me off. So you got huge support on Twitter and online. People who were some of the big names that showed you, that spoke out about the censorship and stood up for you? All these tweets shared everywhere. Everybody's tagging Team YouTube, and just complete silence from them. Not a word about it. Like you guys are just like, oh, never heard of them. Like they haven't been just badgered by Media Matters and all these media companies and ADL and SPLC to get rid of you, and they can't even at least find something and get you on a strike on a legitimate thing that you said. Never do they do that.
And again, what would have been fair then would have been, give us a strike and then give us the opportunity to appeal that or whatever, right? But the fact is, when it's happening in this rapid succession, or whatever happened, we don't know. Was it 3 strikes in a row, boom, 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 and then out, or was it that someone just flipped a switch? Was it a mistake? Was it an inside job? This is, of course, why people tweet at Team YouTube, so that they can investigate and look into this and see what's wrong. Of course, trusted flaggers, all this stuff. We had, Count Dankula, Mark Dice, Styx, Hexenhammer. There was many people doing videos about it. Of course, we went on Owen Schroyer's show there in the War Room and talked with them and stuff.
We'll get to that.
Brian did a great
that, obviously.
Of course, yeah. Brian did a great job with his video, exposing just that it's not about hate, right? It's not about that. It's about who says it. It's about who says it and what they say.
It's about exposing their hate. You're exposing their hate. You're exposing the hate that they're covering up, and you're winning. So they have to shut you down, because they're like gangster thugs, is what it comes down to. It's not us trying to get them put out of business and kicked off everywhere. We're like, let's have a debate. I saw you debated the guy on Ethan Ralph's kill stream the other day too, and it was interesting to hear their mindset and how psycho that is. We'll get into that. But Team YouTube. So I noticed, I've been checking, when I saw huge tweets that are tagging Team YouTube, and you're just gotten complete silence, no email, no explanation, no anything. They respond every day, all throughout the day, to just the most mundane little questions from all over the world, with accounts that have no followers at all, and they'll respond right away to their stuff, but just radio silence from them. It's how much more are we going to put up with?
I'd like to see I would like to have been a fly on the wall on The Office for them over there that day, or those 4 days or whatever there was. There's still some people hammering, and why not keep doing it? These people, they need to know that they've done wrong, right? But yeah, I mean, I'm sure if it's just orders from up top, right? I know they were on ADL's hit list. SPLC says we need to remove these people. Just ignore. Just ignore. Just don't say anything. Don't reply.
It's shameful. It's truly shameful. I got okay, yeah, this is what I wanted to show. This is going to be interesting. So, I got a strike, a copyright strike the other day. Here, where's my screen at? Sorry. One man show here. All right.
Doing fine.
This video just got taken down. Rabbi reveals shocking history of Putin, KGB, Chabad, and Mossad. 54,000 views. It got taken down for a copyright strike. And then I had to do a copyright school to get out of that. And I clicked on something where it said like what the rules are. And check out these rules here. These are YouTube's advertiser friendly, which is a whole nother can of worms. It's like, you guys are kicked off now. We're completely demonetized. But even with all that, even if you got your channel back, they're still throttling and holding us down and suppressing it. That it should be illegal for them to do this with these algorithms.
Well, and again, that's what's making them a publisher, right? Mm-hmm. They're actively going in and saying, no, this is going to end up in the back of the newspaper, if it's even there at all. They're editors, they're publishers, and so that they and the people in Congress knows this stuff. Like you did a video called Google, the monster that has to be destroyed. There was some like Veritas stuff in there, but it was like from a hearing with what's his name, Ted Cruz actually did a good job for once, grilling this Google executive, and it's like, well, no, there's no bias and stuff. And it's like, well, you have special protection. What are you doing? Like, the politicians knows this stuff. Trump is monitoring the situation, right? And it's like nothing is coming of this. No one is doing anything because they're in bed with the government. These are structures now that has been set up with the American government, and they're giving each other money. It's swing door politics. You have people going from major big tech platforms over to politics and vice versa, right? So it's all an incestuous circle of people that are trying to control the narrative. And it doesn't matter that there is a Trump in there, which this media establishment obviously hates like nothing I've never seen before. But that doesn't matter, right? It doesn't apply. It's like I don't know what's going on, but no one who recognizes the problems either is willing to do something about it or can do something about it. I don't know which it is.
I know, me neither. It something's got to happen though. So check this out. This is what YouTube says their advertiser-friendly content. Here are the main topics that are not advertiser-friendly. So if you talk about, where are they? Controversial issues and sensitive events. So, I mean, basically, this gives them the right to shut down anybody they want. Controversial issues. You can't talk about, look at this, even if the content is purely commentary or contains no graphic imagery. So you are against the Zionist wars? Hey, you can't talk about that. You're completely demonetized. No super chats like, my channel is. And no war, political conflicts. So if you're
like, that's all it is. That's all it is now. It's just pure political conflict.
So on the biggest monopoly platform, YouTube, for video streaming, you can't be a journalist and reach the masses and talk about war or politics. They can shut down any independent, dissident voices that don't go along with the MSM narrative. I mean, how is this the rules? This is terrible.
It's pathetic. It's a joke at this point. No, authoritative sources, right? And that's why you can have videos, and you know this as well as everyone, but it's like exact search terms on a video that you've done. You'll get CNN, MSNBC, Fox, all these mainstream channels listed above, and they can have like a fraction of the views, and they still get promoted above independent sources.
Content promoting hate groups. I want to talk to you about just this term hate. When I'm going to show Brian High Impact Flix's video, he looked into that about how arbitrary this term hate is. Like, as if the Democrats don't hate Trump. Can every Democrat get taken down, or vice versa? Here's another one too. Content that suggests a tragic event did not happen, or the victims or their families, actors are complicit in a cover-up of an event. So, and I've seen stuff about, they say, any like politicized violent event. So that includes no talking about major world wars, no questioning who was behind 9/11. this, I guess, is probably related to S hook. I don't even want to say the whole thing because the algorithms pick it up.
That's right. Yep, you're
Speaking
right.
of algorithms, I did a debate with Dr. Michael Brown. It was very cordial, gentlemanly, no hate speech at all. We were just discussing religious topics, basically. And he mirrored it and put it on his channel. And he put a different title, like Jewish Dominating the World or something like that, debate. And ADL's AI picked it up and marked it as hate speech and gave him a strike and took it down. We can't even debate the issues.
No. No, it's pathetic. And again, I mean, and these are great to show these examples. I keep talking about it. Every time it's happening, we got to hammer it. We got to continue to push it. We got to continue to expose it, tell people what's going on. But ultimately, it's like that's why this platform is not going to make it, right? It's not. As soon as you have a competitor that allows interesting, truly diverse opinion, political discourse to take place across the board, from debates to arguments to exposing different things, that platform, as long as it can be well funded, and it might even be people funded, at least in the early stages, it will outcompete YouTube very, very quickly, I think. Because, again, I mean, if the algorithm doesn't spit back at you what it is that you're actually interested in, if it considers this to be the wrong topic, and it shows you the opposite, how is this going to help? They think there's it's YouTube's job now to de-radicalize people and all this nonsense. I mean, it's just... It's not going to work. It's not going to work.
They're not dependent on profit. They're propaganda backed by big money. That's why YouTube lost like $70 billion last quarter, because they changed the algorithms and people aren't watching as much. And they're cracking down on the most popular, or not the most popular, but on a lot of the popular stuff on YouTube, shutting it all down. Just like BuzzFeed has huge layoffs and all these... SJW companies that are like going out of business or just losing tons of money, and they're just propped up.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, all these media companies that are like hammering the same points. You can see the same perspectives, the same talking points, the same boring, tired old arguments about X, Y, Z, and why whites are bad, and just open the borders, and globalism is great, and like let your kids chop off their what, and it's like the same thing over and over and over again. It's and people are sick and fed up with it. They want to have something which engages them, that makes an interesting point, that accurately represent the lived experiences that they have out there in the world. And that's what they're ultimately limiting, which is why it's not going to work. It's just a matter of time. We're booted off now. So now is a good time for us to build alternative platforms, our audience there. And eventually, when everyone gets booted off, then we'll have a good following there already, and we'll be well established there. And some others already are, that already have gone through that. So, that's just the process.
I've thought about like boycotting and leaving for the principle of it, but they want us to all leave. So if we stay, it's like an act of defiance. And that's, by having you on, it's telling YouTube, like, you're not gonna stop us. You were always great at supporting other people that were censored. And that's why it's important that people, got to give credit where credit's due if people are standing up for free speech.
Yeah, thank you. And again, I don't have any expectations. I'm not like where I expect people to do this or X, Y, Z, or like do come out and do something or go out on a limb for us and stuff like that. But some people have. Some people have been very kind, very nice. The support has been very overwhelming and heartwarming. And again, we're not gone. We're still here. It's like, yes, we lost an access to a lot of subscribers, but in a way, luckily, there was already very limited views compared to how many subscribers we had on many videos because of the throttling, right, of the suppression of people don't get notifications, all that kind of stuff, right? So in a way, they've kind of like slowly stepped it down for us. On the other hand, occasionally you got those videos that like shot through, like the Greta Thunberg video I did, like 500,000 views in about 2 weeks' time. Very popular.
Say that name again, because people are going to miss what you said.
Greta Thunberg. Greta Thunberg.
The climate girl.
The climate girl. The Swedish little climate girl, right? Mm-hmm. So I exposed all her links to the establishment back home in Sweden, the Social Democrat energy sector, which has kind of built all these groups and foundations kind of behind this agenda and stuff like that. I exposed all of that stuff. And some people speculate that was why the channel was yanked, because it was too much truth getting out to too many people too quickly. And I know that some other people too had gotten their channels yanked because they were questioning the climate the climate church,
Right.
or whatever you want to call it.
You question anything they don't like or expose their racism, and it's just hate. Hate and conspiracy theory and anti-Semitism are their magic words that they're able to silence any of their political opposition. Anybody just disagrees with them or objects or stands in their way of their agenda. And the ADL relentlessly comes after you guys. That you guys were on the August 15th, so just a couple months ago. Despite YouTube's policy, anti-Semitic white supremacist channels remain, and they included you guys here.
Yeah, that's what they call it. Just call it white supremacy, where we've ever said something where we want to dominate and rule over other races, or even that we believe in some hierarchy of races, that we even drag that into the discussions. Again, we talk about politics, news, current events, we do analysis, we talk about open borders agenda, we talk about mass migration, we talk about how that's detrimental to our societies.
Anti-white racism, you talk about
anti-white racism, the exposing all those things.
Supremacy.
Yep. And so they just have to call us names because they don't prove it.
ADL is a supremacist hate group that works for Israel. They have an office in Israel. They've worked for decades closely with the government of Israel. I mean, This is just... And they're a trusted flagger as part of YouTube's trusted flagger program.
And Greenblatt, who now heads up the ADL, was Abe Foxman previously. He goes and frolics with the crowd that showed up for the moving of the U.S. embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, right? Which was like a strictly, well, both an ethnic but also like a religious, an important move symbolically for the identity of the Jewish people, right? To get America to recognize this and stuff like that. They can have like total double standard where they are vehemently ethnocentric themselves, and then if anyone does even something which is remotely begins to be closed against that, they call it hate, and they call for it to be banned and shut down. It's unbelievable hypocrisy and hatred.
Hatred, there's the magic word. That really the fact that we have to take the power away from this term. That's an incredibly important thing to do. And if I can get this to pop up, where are we? There we are. And so High Impact Flicks, Brian did this video where he talks about hate and what hate is. And he shows Bill Maher and he talks about everybody hates Trump. Hates Trump, hates Trump. So it's okay for everybody else to hate things, but then they're going to go after the people that expose all the hate. You guys expose anti-white racism. There might be one video where we say, we hate the abuse of children, or we hate that there's someone who's so evil and so cruel that they want to try to make our children like a hated and resented minority or in our own country. So maybe we use terms like that, but never directed that we hate this person or this group or stuff like that where that's on par with what these guys are doing. And these are the promoted sources on YouTube, right? They just unbelievable hatred, and then they go and flip that switch on us, Just arbitrary rules, selective enforcement. They're shutting down. And then, they're the ones that hate, though. Mark Potok of SPLC on his wall in the documentary has showing the population of white people in America declining rapidly over the last few decades. On his wall, like a serial killer psychopath, a little yellow notepad on his wall. On his wall, showing it go
imagine
down.
if someone had done that about the Jewish people in a country or something like. Imagine what would have happened to them.
That's always the situation. Is you flip the script. Imagine if it was the other way around. That's why they're double standard hypocrites every single time. The stuff that they get away with. And of course, I make a video exposing SPLC's clearly anti-white agenda with this thing on the wall, and because they're trusted flagger, the video gets censored, so it doesn't spread around anymore.
That's right. Yep, just shut it down.
Green with
That's all it is. Yeah, I mean, you were one of the first ones that lifted that out because didn't you see that documentary very early on, I think?
Yeah, I watched it like when it first came out on Netflix. I
Yeah,
actually
I mean,
didn't
look at
see
that.
this
It's
though.
amazing.
Somebody else had it on Twitter, but then I made this video about it.
Okay.
See, non-Hispanic whites proportion of U.S. populations. This is on
Mhm.
like the
The
head,
percentages.
Mark
Yep.
Potok.
Yep. And I think he's left essentially, he's a former senior advisor because again, the group is collapsing from the inside. It's rotting. It's on fire over there, and they're trying to do what they can to salvage it, but it's too late now. But yeah, that's the guy, and this is even more important actually. But
Well,
more important.
you're
But
European,
it's
so.
well, I didn't mean
Yeah.
I didn't mean like that, but I'm saying it's more important because it hasn't been exposed yet. Because
Right.
when I saw that screenshot the other day, it's funny because it was things click in a funny way. I glanced over quickly and I just like, does that say EUR under there and Europe? And then someone tweeted at me literally like an hour later. I had to go do something else. I left it or whatever. Someone tweeted to me later and said, hey, look at this. It's also mapping European countries and the declining native population in those countries. And so that's even more important now to push out because people saw the previous one, but this is it's more proof that it's like this is worldwide. This is literally targeting people of European descent.
Yeah, showing the decrease all over Europe. And then they say it's a conspiracy theory if we talk about this. And this specific group, writes hit pieces to get you shut down because you're exposing their anti-white racism.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's mind blowing. It's just that this passes, but it's too much. It's too late. The cat is out of the bag. People know it's just a matter of time. This is not going to stop. People are going to continue to expose this. Our people are waking up. People worldwide are waking up to this. We have supporters from around the world. We have Chinese people, Japanese people, Indian people, Pakistani people that write us and they just say, yeah, they just like, hey, we support you guys. We see what's happening. Like, wake up. Like, we know what you're doing. I think we're going to do a roundtable. We're going to bring on as many of those supporters as possible and just ask them some basic questions about, what they think, the perception of us, and if it makes sense, the kind of stuff that we talk about, just to like get people to understand that it's like, there's nothing wrong with this. There's nothing immoral. This is what every single group does.
Yeah, like 20 years ago, it's completely normal, sensible stuff that people were talking about. Just the Overton window has shifted so much, and they portray you and smear you in the media like you guys are like public enemy number one. And when you're censored, I hear you guys go to call on your show on Weekend Warrior, and it's just like all these nice, like very well-spoken, seem like good people, normal people calling in, and those are the people. They're not just censoring you, they're censoring everybody else's right to decide to listen to what you have to say. Like trying to YouTube and ADL stepping in and deciding, no, you can't donate to them, you can't support this idea. They're systematically shutting down their opposition, and they're the tyrants, they're the authoritarians, they're the criminal thugs, trying to claim like they're the good guys that care about hate.
It's just bullshit. It's, again, all of this is just to get us to lay down, roll over, let them smack us around however they see fit, and win. That's what it's a strategy to win. It's a strategy to substitute the people of Europe. It's about globalism. It's about destroying the nations that stand in the way for this new world that they have envisioned for themselves. They're going to mold it in their image. They're going to remove obstacles. And that includes whole groups.
They know better. They don't have to debate. Just they say they have the moral high ground. And look at the ADL doesn't talk about this kind of stuff. About they protect. Jonathan Greenblatt wears the Kabbalah bracelet. Look at into Kabbalah, all types of supremacy in there with their tree of life on the Gentiles being on the lower animalistic level. And we got kind of this kind of stuff. Supremacy just blatant all over the place. And they're directing everything towards basically you guys.
Yeah, I mean, imagine being part of a group. I did a tweet about this recently because someone called me, you bad Nazi. That's all they have, right? So someone called me that, and I discovered that this person is like literally like in Tel Aviv. They just set up an account to like throw shit around or whatever. They're following all these Jewish groups and like extremists, like the Likud party members and stuff like that. And anyway. Imagine being part of a group that actually prevents that group from intermarrying with other groups, have a massive border wall, literally drop like white phosphorus and shooting people out in the open on them so that they can expand their Lebensraum, right, of their greater project of how they want to expand the territories of their own country. There's a number of other things which, I mean, you could just list those off as well for me, but like all these checkboxes of things like if and then they turn around and call us Nazis for basically just saying, hey, I have massive concern for where this is going. What kind of world is my child going to grow up in? What's going to happen if he? I don't think it's going to happen. I think we're going to turn this around. But right now, we're slated to become minorities in our own countries, and the pressure by the media is that it's all white people's fault. White people's slavery, colonialism, it's their fault. They're the reason they're holding you down. Even the air that you breathe is white people's fault. The pollution that you breathe is white people's fault.
I've seen that one. Yeah, that's a real article.
That's a real article.
Yeah.
What do you think that's going to do to people around white people that are not white, not non-Europeans, that see Europeans and read this stuff? They get indoctrinated with this nonsense. It will make them hate us, right? Because we're the problem. We're the fault in the world.
That's
we're
the plan,
reason for all this
Henrik.
stuff. Yep.
I wonder who's behind it. And even when we hint who's behind it, they know who we're talking about because they know that they're doing it. And then
That's right.
We got the ADL here. So imagine how they go after you guys for pointing out anti-white racism. So, but the way they protect Israel and all the stuff they're doing the Palestinians, even when people want to peacefully boycott them, they say that's not the answer. Don't demonize them. And then goes after these companies. We urge Airbnb. This is a threat. This is a public mafia threat. But you guys better cave or else you're in trouble.
Now, I think, Adam, I think the best proof for that I've seen to underline that is I don't know if it was leaked or whatever, but someone on the inside in Iceland released the letter that the tourist board in Iceland received from the ADL. Do you remember that?
Yep.
The threats about destroying a country's economy by utilizing international media and press around the world and the access that ADL has to the major media companies around the world, Fox, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC, all these American, of course, media companies. But they essentially said, Iceland, you want to ban circumcision? Because that was what the issue was about. Oh, you want to ban circumcision? Well, guess what? We have all these connections in all these big American media companies. They have worldwide coverage. And we notice here that a lot of people from around America go and visit Iceland each year. It means there's a lot of tourist money that comes into you. Well, guess what? We can destroy your reputation in the media and make sure that Americans stop visiting you. In other words, we can choke off your economical lifeline if you do not comply to our terms, right? It's literally what a mob does, right? Mobsters threatening them and saying, "Oh, like nice storefront you got there. It would be a shame if something happened to it. Pay us the money or we'll break your legs." I mean, that's what it's on par on, essentially. Comply. Do what we tell you to do. It's amazing.
I was trying to find it, but this popped up. I'm not sure what this is. Letter to Iceland's Minister for Foreign Affairs on proposed mail. So this was this a public letter? No, I don't know. It was a private letter.
Yeah, this might be a reworked one because the other one was just too. No, I don't think that's it actually, because they were listing all the media companies and stuff.
What comes up.
Exactly. That's why I think they wrote that, because that's so that when you do search for it, that's what you'll see. Yeah, here we go. Here's something, right?
I know you shared it on Twitter before, and I've seen it. I remember when it happened. I remember Kurse doing a whole thing on it. I
mean, that was just amazing, exposing that stuff. It would be maybe the link at the top under the actual headline at the top search result you had there. But anyway, people can look that up, and if I find it, I can share that link on Twitter again later, retweet it or something if people want to see that. But yeah, I mean, that's amazing. That is amazing. That's extortion, blackmail, threatening a country economically by getting them to do something which should be their own self-determination. Right? That's how much power a group like the ADL has.
And they have a law. It's state.gov. It's anti-Semitism to even say that they're racist. So to call them racist is racist itself. Like, how do you fight that?
Or even putting out double standards.
It's a lose-lose. Yeah.
Yeah. It's insanity. We're at the end. we're coming up at the end of this. What I'm saying is the end of this kind of behavior before the cup flows over, and before people are sick and fed up with this, because they're never going to be able to put this cat back in the bag again. It never is going to happen. And the more you censor now, the more you shove your version of things down people's throat, the more sick and tired and fed up with it they're going to be. It's much too strong reaction, much too late, and so it's not going to work for you. This censorship agenda is going to fail.
Bit, right?
Absolutely, massively, I would say.
So check this out, just a little bit more of this is the real type of racism that we talk about, and this is why we're censored. So this is a book written in 1924 by Maurice Samuel. He was a leading member of the ZOA, Zionist Organization of America, and a B'nai B'rith award winner. B'nai B'rith is like the parent company of the ADL, basically, right?
Yeah.
So this is what he had to write in his book, You Gentiles. He says, "We have outlived the most ably organized nations. We have failed to imitate the Roman legion or the order of Jesus. We have survived the first and shall no doubt outlive the second." And then it says, yet I have no doubt that when Germany and England and America will long have lost their present identity or name or purpose, we shall still be strong in ours.
Yep. Amazing.
Imagine how powerful that is. They're gonna out. This was 1924. Look at what has happened to Germany, England, and America since then.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, it's so blatant. It's out in the open, and for them it's fine. It's beautiful tradition, heritage, religion, customs.
Their common destiny.
Ancestry.
Their common destiny, like Barbara Specter meeting with Rothschilds in Israel.
Yep, that's right. New groups popping up to say, how do we move forward? How are we gonna unite all of our people and stuff like that. Imagine if there were European groups doing that. It would be criticized in the world press as some kind of white. I mean, not that it would be that, but I'm saying it would be criticized on outrageously clown worldishly that it was white supremacy, because these European people are saying we have a strong and proud tradition. We should unite all of us and ensure that we have a common destiny. Imagine that,
I know. The double standard is incredible, and basically they've pushed the bar so low now that anybody that just doesn't, any white person that doesn't hate themselves and totally fine with having every white majority country just become a hated minority, you're a white nationalist and you're conflated with white supremacist, Nazi, everything bad. And again, meanwhile, they're saying the only reason,
exactly, but the only reason they're doing that, the only reason for the name calling, the only reason for slinging these terms around, is to get you to give up. It's to get you to feel bad and stop fighting, so that they will win, and so that their agenda, which is substitution of the population, it's ethnic replacement. That's the agenda. That's what they want to have happen, and they're hoping that you will give up before you've even started the fight, because they call you bad words. We just have to stop giving a shit about what these people say to us, what the names that they call us, because we know it's not true. We know that they're the liars. We know that they are the ones who are flinging shit around. We know that they're the propagandists. They're the globalists. They're the ones who are causing havoc in the world. They're the ones who are hating and resenting other people and all this stuff, right? It's not us. And so we have if there's anyone out there anymore that cowers to terms or name calling and stuff, just know that's part of the game plan to get you to lose. That's what it's about.
Mm-hmm. And meanwhile, they're saying this kind of stuff. We're the destroyers, will remain the destroyers forever. Nothing that you will do will meet our needs and demands. Imagine if you were saying this on your channel. We will forever destroy because we need a world of our own, a God world, which is not in your nature to build. This is the same guy.
A world, not even like just a country or something, like a world of our own. It's like,
here's Aaron Kasparov, who I see was in the chat earlier. He says, Lana and Henrik.
He does great work.
Well, he did until his YouTube channel was shut down. He's just on BitChute now, I believe. Henrik and your wife,
I didn't
Lana,
even know,
are two of the nicest people in the world. It's an abomination that they're silenced for speaking truth. The ADL is a discredited lie machine that profits from fear they manufacture. Well, this is a law. I don't know if I agree with this one. Trump likes red ice getting censored, I believe. But I mean, just a family a husband and wife.
I love that
Getting
picture. It's great.
all this vilification, all this demonized, all these liberal leftist psychos that want to put you guys on the streets just for you can't stand up against their racism. You'll be put out of business.
Yeah,
and that's the way they operate.
They want to have us homeless, destitute, lying in a gutter, and they want to like I don't know what they would do. They want to like mind control my son or something, make him hate himself for who he are.
He definitely needs to go to re-education school for sure.
Yeah. Oh god.
I'm surprised the state even lets you have him still.
These are frightening. These people. I mean, it's scary. The wickedness and how evil they are and how little they care for. Next time in here,
he hasn't had any vaccines.
I mean, these people are just, you're never going to win with these people. I mean, they have, I mean, also keep in mind, though, I mean, they are behind an ideology. Most of them are perfectly fine with open and blatant communism. I mean, it's under 100 years of its existence, it has murdered, it's killed the ideology in its name about 100 million people. That's 1 million people per year for 100 years. Bolshevism has been the largest scourge on humanity in modern history. No other ideology has murdered so many people that this. And most of them, I'm not saying that every single one is an ideological communist. You might have some neoliberals, you might have some globalists and stuff like that in there who's not perfectly fine with that. But generally, they would side with that against people like me who says, you know what, I think every people deserves a nation of their own, because in most cases, that's what leads to peace. Even Bernie Sanders agreed with me when he did an interview recently where he's sitting and talking with I think it's a black girl in America, and they're talking about the concern for like essentially just having white cops patrolling like black areas, something like that. And Bernie says, well, I think it's very important that the societal functions are being run by people that look like them. Right. And I agree, because then you can never use racism as an excuse. Racism will never come in as a variable in a society or group or town or whatever region we're talking about that is ethnically homogenous. In other words, every interaction, every potential run-in, every disagreement, every misunderstanding that you might have with someone, you're never going to be able to pin that on racism if you're living in an ethnically homogenous group. And sure, there can be some countries that prefer to be like multicultural or something like that. But the point is, this is happening everywhere. And none of us have a say in this. None of us get to vote on this. None of us get to participate in the political discourse. In fact, if we speak up against it, as we do now, they actively censor us. Mm-hmm. These are the only voices of criticism that you're getting from alternative sources, not mainstream garbage and narratives of being repeated by the establishment and the same puppets in the media and politics and stuff like that. But real, genuine voices, people that are out there, people that have support of the people saying, we don't like this. We think that the policies should change because this is leading to a very bad place, right? Even that they cannot tolerate.
Mm-hmm. Not even any tolerance at all. You have no say-so. You can't even disagree. And these are the face of the enemy.
Maybe the stomach of the enemy.
Stunchberry, nice. Celebrating censorship when media celebrates censorship.
Yeah. Here's the red wine socialist I was talking about. They're perfectly fine with like 100 million dead. They're just like, nah, it's fine. Don't worry about it. It's these guys that's the problem. Let's shut them down. They're perfectly happy censoring. There's no. At least they're honest about it. I guess that's one good thing.
So I want to talk to you about this one that you talked to the other day on Killstream. He called in. What was his name? We don't even have to say his name, but he was
Bronx blogger. Yeah,
he was one of these media matters. He pretended like he was all important and he knows people and he's getting you shut down.
I don't think he is, frankly. I think he's overplaying his importance.
That's what he was saying. But what I found very interesting was he was like, "Oh, it's a good thing you're shut down, and we need to go after you. We're coming after your web server too." So
yeah, of course, everything. Yeah.
So anybody that's against having open borders and white people hating themselves, you aren't even allowed to have a website.
That's right. They're going for the kill, and I think it's kind of amusing that they think and believe that that's the strategy that's going to work. When clearly it wasn't even back in the 60s, right? In terms of like what the establishment was doing then at that point. That's why I am a believer in unfettered free speech, because all these ideas needed to be out in the open. If they were out in the open and if everyone could debate them, we would win, and they know this, and that's why they're resorting to a repressive authoritarian method by shutting down voices that they cannot refute and that they don't agree with. That's the only option that they have.
The best thing, his other argument, the best thing. I'm sorry, continue.
No, that's it. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The other thing he brought up was his example of why you should be censored. Was he was like, a couple years ago, you were talking about the grandma who was put in prison for questioning World War II. That
right.
was your big crime, for discussing a grandma being locked away for questioning the biggest war in the last 100 years.
He didn't. I don't think he answered my question, because it was so obviously that he would like be on the morally wrong side of things if he did agree to it. But he did concede it, therefore, because he refused to touch it. But it was, yes, these three old ladies, right? Ursula Haverbeck, Monica Schaefer, and who was the other one? Sylvia Stoltz, right? She's a little younger, I think, now, but it's essentially three older women, old ladies, that are or have been to jail because of wrongthink, right? They think differently. There's no
they
crime.
Don't believe the government. That's
right.
Really what it comes down to.
Yeah,
if they're so crazy, just let them be on their crazy way, put out a bunch of propaganda that refutes all of their lies and move on with it. But they don't. Imagine, sometimes I think, like, if an alien spaceship came down and they were watching the news and they're just like, it's like, or if this was a plot of a movie, like, oh, the event that nobody's allowed to question, it's almost just like becoming a little too over the top with how they're trying to push this control. What's next? You can't question, in 20 years, are we not going to be able to say that Zionists were behind 9/11? That's going to get you thrown in prison? Because that's only an incremental step away.
Oh, absolutely, definitely. Again, I sent you that link. If we have time, we can pull it up later or whatever. But the majority of the coming generations now, they are totally fine with imprisoning people for thinking differently. Essentially, they call it hate speech. They have these own definitions of the terms, which are actually very vague when you begin to kind of go down in the weeds and drill into some of these things and say, well, can you, what is that, or what's the line for it, or okay, if you want to make it against the law, tell me what it is specifically, so that I can do. So that I can go as close to it as possible without breaking that law and stuff, but they can't. It never comes, right? And this is tactics of Cheka, Stasi, and all these groups who have existed historically, where they create fear in the populace by not knowing. This is the key, right? At any time they could show up. At any time you could be hauled off in the middle of the night for wrongthink or for organizing with wrong people, or you met too many people in this. You had a dinner party at home, in fact, and you didn't invite a representative from the state or whatever organization is going to be running this show here as we go into the next few years. You have to invite them and let them know what you're doing and what you're talking about. They have to constantly have someone that listens in. Now, of course, they do this with technology anyway. They data mine it, and then they have everything anyway. So they don't actually have to have a person there. But it's the point, right? We need to know what you're talking about. We need to know what's in your mind. We need to know what's in your brain. And if you refuse to give that up, we'll put you in room 101, and we'll torture you until you realize that 2 + 2 is 5.
Yeah, they used to lock people up and put them on drugs that would do this kind of thing. I believe that's what the communists did in Soviet Union.
Oh, yeah, definitely. They tortured them. They humiliated them. They did all kinds of weird things and experiments. Again, remember, 100 million people in 100 years. 1 million people are every year. Yeah. That's the casualty.
But we don't see people getting taken down for being communist hate, right?
No, that's perfectly fine.
It's only applied to one side.
The system is fine with it. They're okay with it.
So tell me about the War Room. Owen Schroyer had you on. When I got censored, he had me on too. So apparently he's the only one over there that cares, isn't a hypocrite and cares about free speech. You had a little drama beforehand, and then I saw the segment, though. It was pretty good. Yeah. You guys, obviously we disagree, and we've butted heads a ton. But if they're going to stand up for free speech, that's a commendable thing. Same thing with Mark Dice. Not an endorsement, completely disagree. I'm disappointed with what he's done. I disagree. I think it's awful what he's been pushing, but that one shocked me, right? The Mark Dice one?
Yeah, no, exactly, and I think it's great. I think it's great that we're seeing. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because they kind of realize on some level that if they don't stop it or help to speak out, it will be. They kind of know that eventually they will come for them. I think they feel this beast like chasing them as well, together with all these other ones. And again, if they can kick off, I mean, again, they did Alsop. He had more subs than we did. But again, if they kick off like someone like us and Alsop, like we almost had
Alsop hasn't been vilified anywhere near you guys. You guys are like the poster family, the poster couple for all it for basically the I don't want to say the biggest, but one of the biggest voices out there that's standing up against all the obvious, blatant anti-white agenda that's being pushed.
Yeah. No, I mean, and it's surreal to read this and all the lies and the smear, the misconstruing of the truth, knowingly or unknowingly. I think it's they know what they're doing. They're misquoting. They're mashing things together. They never cite or have sources. It's just a bunch of garbled nonsense, and I laugh at it when I see it because it's so far from reality. But whatever, it is what it is now. This is the world we live in, and on some part I also feel, you know what, if you're doing stuff where you're getting the endorsement of this sick and totally just like nutty clown world degenerate system and world that we're living right now, if you're getting the endorsement of it, if you're getting wealthy off of the back of the system, or like doing something which is like pleasing it or them who's in charge of it, I mean, you have to be a hated and resented person to like know that you're on the right side of history here, because everything they're doing is wrongdoing. It's doing evil things. It's doing bad things in the name of good. It's taking us in the completely wrong direction where we should be. And if you're not speaking up against that and becoming a target, well, I just think you're not doing something right. I think the tide will turn. I think that eventually people will see that this system they've gone completely crazy. They've gone nuts. They don't know when to stop. They don't know who's like they'll target everyone equally. They'll target. I mean, they already do it too. I mean, like housewives, like they're just like saying, "Hey, I love my kids," or like, you know what I mean? It's like the most weird. That's the most weird shit that's happening right now. It's like the most normal stuff is being demonized.
The signs where it says it's okay to be white, like they put that in the media
Right.
and do articles about it and say this white supremacy. Wait, it's not supremacy. It's just saying it's okay to be white, and they spin that into supremacy.
Again, the system says no. The default, even did you see those local news reports about the no white guilt posters? They kind of had similar font and looked similar. Mm-hmm. Chicago, a couple of other places. We covered it in Weekend Warrior, exclusive show that we do at redicemembers.com. We covered in there, show the clips, the local news reports, and these people didn't even like the woman presenting. She even misread. She said no white guilty. She couldn't even say no white guilt like it was it's a concept, and it demonstrates that the default position of any white person is that it's not okay to be you, and in fact you need to feel guilt. If you don't feel guilt for who you are, something is wrong with you, right? That's the signals, that's the messages being sent out right now, and I don't think the majority of people. I don't think the majority of people like that. I don't think they stand up for that. I even think people who are of non-European descent, I think if they were totally up to speed of like, because I get it. They're busy. They're fighting their own battles. They have their own thing to do, and they're looking at their issues that's concerned to them or whatever. But if they were up to speed and saw and could monitor as much news as that we do to kind of what it is that shapes and forms our image of this, that we're basing this off of like real world stuff and narratives that's being pushed against us and stuff like that. If they could see that, or if they even could imagine that was being done against them, none of them would agree with it. None of them would take it. None of them. It would be out. It would be riots on the streets, for Christ's sake, because the system was trying to hold them down and push them back and all this kind of stuff, right? So they're going insane. They're totally going over the cliff.
Mm-hmm. Look at this. Even Bill Mayer agrees with the anti-white or the white guilt virtue signaling is just getting completely out of control. I have a couple jokes here for you. Check this out.
Finally, new rule, white liberals have to start listening to me when I tell them you can't be more offended than the victim. It happened again last week when presidential contender Andrew Yang faced criticism because he said that SNL should not have fired comedian Shane Gillis over racist comments Gillis made about Asians. That's when the internet did what it does best and deemed Yang a racist for not being offended. Because if he wasn't offended, well, someone had to be.
Doesn't it seem like a lot of time it's white liberals that are the most outraged by what stuff that's going on?
No, of course. I mean, it's true. Of course it is. But it's also so absurd that these jokes have been like, they're so easy now to pick, right? For these guys in the mainstream media and stuff like that. I wish we had some own shows where we can make fun of this stuff. I mean, I'll take it. It's fine. He's making fun of it or whatever. But it's like, it's gone so far now that even their own lefty talking heads are like seeing through this and they're almost forced, almost because it's so easy as well, right? It's almost laziness to a certain extent at this stage because it's so easy and so self-explanatory that they're picking up on it.
It's like some of them are like addicted to virtue signaling and just they're competing to like who could be the most cucky or something. Here, he's got another joke. It gets better. No, check this out.
There was a study done last year where people were asked to rate their feelings about various races, and white liberals were the only group that has a bias against themselves. They want to hang out only with people who are not them. That's like your mother preferring the neighbor's kids. There is a weird self-loathing going on among white liberals, and it's not helping anyone. Lifting up those who society has cheated or forsaken, that's liberalism. Hating all things white is just tedious virtue signaling. You look like Justin Timberlake in Bad Teacher.
I just hate slavery so much. Slavery's the worst. If I could go back in time and undo slavery, I would. I hate it.
So he even says that the virtue signaling is getting out of control. He agrees.
Yeah. I mean, he's right. In a way, I'm kind of, it's a shame that he gets to say these things. It's a shame that he's the one who gets to, because he's been pushing a lot of this shit.
Oh, he does in this too. He puts his spin on it for sure.
Okay, yeah, of course. I was expecting that, right? But still, he's right. I mean, in that sense, on the clip that I've seen here. But it also makes sense that they are self-loathing because look at them and look at what I mean. If everything is about hatred, of course you wouldn't want to hang out with yourself, right? If or someone like you because you suck because you're. It's like, who wants to live like that? Like just the misery and the church lady attitude of like picking on everything and every little thing. It's offensive and it's like it becomes exhausting. Like just let it go. But it's not going to happen. I mean these people are on a suicide track. That's what I think is happening. They're on a suicide track, and they're going to either take themselves out of circulation by, living up to the standards, which means if they have so low self-esteem and they hate themselves so much, who of them would want to reproduce or even have kids that look like them or continue to give those children the opportunities that they need, which would lead to high self-esteem as opposed to low self-esteem, because these people are going to be damaged. These kids, if these people have kids, imagine how they're going to grow up hating themselves.
And being hated by everybody else because what they're putting.
Exactly.
You hit on the point that I wanted to talk about is that having kids that liking your neighbor kids more or having kids that look like you. Sociologists, they do studies, biologists. It's like a statistical fact and like inherent in all people that you want your offspring to look like you because that's like keeping your DNA line going. So it's not natural for everybody to be more attracted to people who are similar to you, more similar. This is just like a natural fact. And this isn't to say that I don't think women from around the world are also attractive, but this is just like a truth. A truth is that they're trying to change with lots of propaganda.
Yeah, it's like I see it. It's like David Icke. I remember he made that analogy many years ago. He's talking about the ball or whatever that you have to like hold down. There's a natural state where like the physics of the thing makes sure that whatever you do, the ball is going to like bounce on the surface because the pressure inside is higher than if you have it under the water or whatever. So if you push it down, the only way you can keep it there is by holding it down continuously by force, right? As soon as you let that thing go, poof, it will bounce back to its natural state, which is, according to the laws of nature. And the same thing occurs with all this propaganda and stuff. That it might work for a while, it might work on some people, but it's not going to work on all people all the time. And there's a natural state which they will bounce back into. And that's what we're seeing right now, that schism where people are beginning to pull away from this artificial propaganda and artificial way that the system is trying to hold certain people down for who they are, guilt rid them into essentially oblivion, right? That's the main objective here. But that's not going to work. As you said, these are the laws of nature. There's nothing wrong with having preferences for your own. This happens everywhere in nature. If you don't have preference for your own, well, guess what? You
won't have your own anymore. You wouldn't exist.
Exactly, and that's what's happening of a faction of us, of people of European descent. That is now happening. That's the process we're seeing.
And isn't it funny that the group that does this the most, the most strong tribal nepotism in marriage history, they're the ones that are going after white people the most.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, and it kind of makes sense too, right? People speculate, is it survival strategy? Is it some
religious
kind of
prophecy?
Exactly. That's what you're covering so well, of course, religious prophecy. And I think weaved into that too. I think you have historical grudges and, a lot of different things that kind of contributes to that picture of like why that would be beneficial to kind of the in-group's, ethnic survival rates, essentially.
Mm-hmm. So check this out. We're talking about it being natural. Delta unintentionally admitted that the diversity religion is not natural and it's being forced, and anybody that resists, like Red Ice, gets smeared and kicked off of every platform. So this was Delta's tweet. They said, "We don't think diversity just happens. We actually believe that you have to work for it and go after it." Read more about Kira Johnson, Delta's Chief Officer of Diversity and Inclusion, on how we're committed to growing our workforce.
Yeah. Oh, God.
So how about this admittance right here? Diversity, we don't think diversity just happens. So they're basically saying they're doing something that's not natural.
Yeah, and they know that it has to be forced, right? If it's so great and if it's a strength, then why do you have to try to convince people about it? Why do you have to force people into those scenarios or situations? Because in the natural state, things always self-segregate. There's a small percentage that doesn't, and again, maybe there's a small percentage that's fine with like, multicultural areas or something like that.
And we're fine with people falling in love with and marrying whoever they fall in love with, right?
Well, of course. I mean, that's just. I mean, there are realistic political goals, and then there's fantasy political goals, and I think it's better to work in what's realistic. And in our day and age, the current year, 2019. Quick air travel. You can go essentially anywhere across the globe and all that stuff. It's free trade and all that stuff. Like you're not gonna get away with putting some laws in place to restricting people. But it's a very different thing from saying, yeah, that does happen occasionally, but historically that's not the case. But yeah, it makes sense it would happen a little bit more because we have travel and all that kind of stuff. But that's very different than, well, first of all, promoting this, like over the top promoting that you're a better moral individual if you, for example, marry outside of your own ethnic group or your nationality, right? Or that you, for example, the pressure that's created specifically against white women, I'd say it's more harder that pressure too, the marketing angle to this too, that it's marketed that it's somehow better if you don't have children that look like you, or white men are bad, and if you are a white person and don't want to have white children, well, that's upholding white supremacy. And in fact, it's even worse than that. They are seeking to create a mental state where people are so both low self-esteem, but also low self-esteem about the group itself, that they hope that is what's going to lead to the fact that many of these people, and women in specifically, they will go and say, oh, you know what, I'm tired of these white guys, I'm going to go outside of it. And again, if you look at the UN Convention on the prevention of genocide, they actually talk about these very real aspects that both propaganda, dissemination, things that are intended to prevent births within the group, or make sure that it creates a mental state of people that they don't want to, basically continue to be themselves. Like all those things are actually in there. And that's, of course, what we can observe happening right now. But no, there's many people that are specifically on the left, of course, that disagree. It's like, no, it's freedom of choice and stuff like that. But it's like, why is some of the biggest ad agencies in the world that are working on these things, and commercials are like this, the propaganda from the TV is like that, movies, politics, it's all diversity, and you're so boring if it's too many white people in a row in a board on a company. Something is horribly wrong. They have to replace themselves, and like it's a incessant, constant pressure on making sure that we do not like who we are, and that there is something wrong with us being with our own group. Right.
Well, only for one group, as if they're not going to, like, as if people aren't going to figure out what they're trying to do, and it's just so obvious that one group gets singled out for all this.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So the pressure only goes one way, and so all of these is helping to create a conditions that is designed to aid the fundamental problem or the issue that we've been talking about almost throughout the entire show now, which is the issue that we have a global elite that want to destabilize nations. It's doing that through, first of all, war in other parts of the world, which is driving migration. Then our bureaucrats and all these other politicians around the world, America included, are saying we need liberal policies that opens the door to all these people, flood them in. Then you create low self-esteem among the group, and you market and you propagandize the native population into thinking there is something wrong with themselves, right? So all of these things is creating one big image, and that's leading to one, lower birth rates, mass migrations, open borders, and it's leading to the slow replacement of the native population in European countries and those countries that were founded by Europeans in the European diaspora, America, Australia, New Zealand, etc. Right? So that's the objective, and that's the goal, because they're seeing if we're going to create a global world, a new world order that has global governance, that has global bodies, we can't have these pesky nations standing in the way. And the way that you break that down and destroy that is that you go for the glue that keeps those nations together, and that's the ethnic group. If you break the ethnic bonds of those people in a nation, what is holding them together? What is it? If you have a country that's everything, every little bit of everything in the world at the same time, then it's nothing at the end. There is nothing there to point to. And eventually, if that blends and merge, then there will be no defining qualities. There'll be no properties that are different. They're using diversity to destroy diversity, right? They're using hate to destroy love. It's all mirrored, all flipped. And the stuff that they're pushing on us, you almost always reverse it like 180 degrees, and you know what it's really is about.
I think it's Kabbalah, wizards, sorcerers that are using inversion to do it all.
Yeah.
And also another point I wanted to make on this Delta thing about diversity not just happening. If you have like diversity quotas, really all that's saying is that you're not hiring the people that are best for the job. So you technically say you have two people, a white person and a non-white person. They're going to give the job to the non-white person just because they're white, because they have to fulfill a quota. Like, how is that fair?
Well, it isn't, and again, it's open discrimination. It means that if you belong to a certain ethnic group, you're not welcome, and we see this time and time again. There's school campuses, clubs, workforce, in all these different places. It's like you can't be, if you're white, they don't want you. You're being thrown out. I have friends who are, they're older, the white straight males. And these companies now literally have like diversity index scores and stuff like that. And although he might be the best man for the job, having the most qualifications or most best fitted and stuff like that, the company will actually not select him because they have a diversity score index that they want to try to fulfill for some, again, nebulous reason. I maybe it's law now in some states or something like that, but again, and this is happening everywhere. It's open discrimination, and they're fine with that because it's happening against white people. So no one is speaking up for them.
Let's see. I think there's one more funny clip of Bill Maher here, and then I want to show you the Huffington Post video that's called "You're about to become a minority."
Nice.
Yeah, have you seen that? I sent it to you. Have you seen that?
No,
before?
I didn't have time to see it yet. They didn't load on my phone when you sent it to me.
So
yeah.
we're not sure if you've covered it before. All right, we'll see. Maybe not. So here's another joke from.
Folks, you don't need to advertise it. What's with the I'm embarrassed to be white subgenre on the internet? I'm finding myself constantly embarrassed to be white. I'm watching Tall Girl. I've never been so embarrassed to be white. Retweet if you're embarrassed to be white. Jesus, fuck. Rosanna Arquette tweeted, I'm sorry I was born white and privileged. It disgusts me and I feel so much shame.
So remember her? I think she had another tweet that was similar to this that she got huge backlash on.
Yeah, and she contacted like the FBI or something, and they encouraged her to lock down her whole Twitter account, I believe, or something. But she's part of the tribe, right? Isn't she? That came out.
She is, yeah. I remember I can't remember the title, but I did a video on that and talked about this whole, my fellow white people thing.
Yeah, exactly.
He was raised Catholic supposedly, but he's a fellow white as well, and it comes out in the rest of this. How about? Isn't that funny? Here, a little more.
You think it's hard being a black man in a white man's world? Try being a white woman who feels bad about you being a black man in a white man's world.
Okay, here.
It's true.
There's a little more for that. I'll put the link in the description. It's pretty funny. But so here's Huffington Post. This is the conspiracy that there's any type of agenda or replacement. But listen to how they make a whole joke about all of it.
Yeah. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, white people will go from being the majority to a minority group in the next 25 years. Yeah, and to make this transition a little less traumatic, we've put together this helpful educational guide.
I'm surprised they didn't do like a crowd clap when they said that.
Yeah,
White people,
sounded like you canned laughter.
They used to be everywhere. In our homes, at our jobs, and on our juries. For years, white people were the majority in this country. And when you're the majority, America feels like one long sing-along around the campfire. But those days are about to come to an end.
White's a minority by 2044. And there's so many articles and so many statistics that it's completely obvious. And they're allowed to joke about it all the time. But you guys stand up against it and you get shut down off of everything.
No, exactly, and that's because we think it's a bad thing, right? And we think it's wrong because we weren't asked about this. And even 1965 Hart-Celler Act, of course, when that was signed, there was a guarantee. The politicians at the time were talking about nothing's going to happen with the demographics. It was actually a worry at that time. They said, well, what's going to happen here now? Is this going to be bad? And no, it'll be fine. Nothing happens, right? And that was just a big lie. It's just like, so they can admit it. They can say that it's fine. This is the goal. We should strive for this. It's all good. And then other people come in and say, actually, we think this is not good, especially because many people are not aware of this. Actually, it was a girl in England, Laura Towler, together with Mark Collette and a couple of others, that did one of the first surveys ever. Again, this is why I brought up with the Bronx blogger guy, like, why isn't there democratic elections about it? If this is one of the biggest transformations of our nations that have happened it's definitely in modern history, but even the migration age back in like 500-600 wasn't this dramatic as it is now. So the point is, why are we not allowed to have a say in this? Why have we not been asked? And if we were asked, what would the results be? Lana is actually speaking with Laura Towler tomorrow on her show 314 about this video that she did where they actually go out and do a survey all over England. I don't think they're in Ireland or other Wales or something like that, Scotland, but they're all over England. They're asking, of course, white people, the native British there, what's your opinions about this? And she releases the stats in the video, and it's of course overwhelmingly people who are, first of all, many weren't actually aware of it, but they show them like the statistics, the headlines about this, and all this kind of stuff. And they're shocked, right? And even they were even afraid to tell them the truth. The surveyors, when they were out there, they tried to. Of course, they were objective. There was nothing like funny business. They were very professional. They did this in the right way, as all pollsters do, and stuff like that. But they were afraid, in some cases, to share their true feelings about this, right? But still, despite that social pressure, saying that it's something wrong not to want to become a minority in your own country, majority of it, like 70%, said, no, we don't want this. This is bad, right? So that's the key here. That's the giveaway. Let people have a decision on this. Until you do that, until you can get some kind of in all countries that was founded by Europeans, you get some resounding yes that yes, we all want to become a minority. Sure, then we can become a small, tiny little dissident voice that has no weight or what we talk about is delusional or something like that. But until that time, until we can be proven wrong, and again, I think it would be a resounding no in most European countries, frankly, right? So I mean, this makes total sense. But yes, back to your point.
And look at this video. Look at the 5.4 thousand thumbs down to 444. I mean, how is this not hate speech? They're celebrating the supposed conspiracy theory that you guys are talking about. I've never had a video with thumbs down like this compared to thumbs up.
No.
I've got videos.
What is that, 98% ratio down or something?
Well, I've had like 98% ratio ups that they get taken down for hate speech.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But again, people don't like it. They don't want this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's this. The Atlantic, we've reached the end of white Christian America. Again, 9,000 thumbs down, 8,000 up.
The remarkable truth is this. America is no longer a white Christian country. And that's going to have profound implications.
So it's happening. They admit it's happening. Seems everything I see. It seems like it's by design.
And then look, but here they say to take the safe one is say post Christian. What that means is post white. That's what that really means.
Right.
When they say post Christians, right? And again, how was this done? Subversive measures. No one being asked. Even when they passed policies that led to this 1965 Hart-Celler Act. Over 1 million people legally entering into the United States every year. That's a huge city that's entering into the United States legally every year. That doesn't account for the 27 to 33 estimated illegal immigrants that are in America right now. They get voting rights. They get to have a say. They participate. It's a political side. They're literally bringing in a new voting bloc into America to make sure that, especially conservatives, but also people who are Christians or something like that, are competed out of existence, essentially, and they can never get to political power again. That's what's happening. Through slow, subversive measures, this have happened. Not out in the open and honest, right?
And that was a video from the Atlantic talking about white Christians are now a minority, and it's going to have a profound change. In the same Atlantic, I want to play this clip. This is what they say. This is what they think about Europe and the refugee crisis and all the immigration that's happening there. This is how they feel towards Europe. The same group, Atlantic.
What would be the most Jewish thing for the last Jew to do? The most appropriate fitting thing?
One said that the last thing that a Jew should do when he or she leaves Europe is spit. I mean, I think that,
you guys hear that? The last thing a Jew should do when they leave Europe is to spit. They hate Europe.
Oh, wow.
They want to destroy Europe. Barbara Specter wants to destroy Europe.
Wow. I don't know what I don't know what this is, but it's like every time, like I'm thinking of like the Jewish oblast in Russia and like wherever people have, and it's not only them, it's other ethnic groups as well, but wherever people have been kind enough to let them in, it's a similar actually pattern that's happening in Sweden right now. Holland and stuff like that. Of course, we're getting majority Muslims and stuff like that, but they are very hostile to the host population. There's immediate ethnic tensions. There's immediate competition over territory, resources. Of course, it's kind of an outcropping of that, but it's immediately hostile relationships, which is another reason why it's such a bad idea to enforce multi-ethnic, multi-religious societies, because they tend to kind of collapse from the inside.
Yeah, subversion. They let in and give freedom, and then they subvert. Here we go, one more time.
But it's like, I'm serious. What we think. If I was, if you're take America, right? I'm a temporary visitor here. I'm not a citizen. I'm not an immigrant in America. I'm a temporary visitor here for now. We're gonna go back to Sweden and stuff like that. But I, on the other hand, if I could have the political power, I would put the power of who gets to have a say in American both demographics, but immigration and borders and stuff like that into the hands of actual Americans that has at least a few generations invested interest in this nation. Let them decide, right? I'm not just because I got in, I don't want to pry open the borders and say everyone needs to come in and we're going to destroy you. And we like, what is that? That's weird to me. It's like you should be grateful and thankful, and I am, but I can't partake. Politically, I can't vote, but I need to pay taxes here, right? I can't have a say. So now I can't even partake in the political discourse. My son is an American citizen, for example. So of course I have an invested interest in what's happening to the future of this nation. If he decides to stay here in the future, as opposed to in Sweden, where where we were planning on staying the majority of our time. But you see what I'm saying? It's like I want to have a say in it. I want to make sure that the American people they're the ones who are the the judge here, right? And so anyway, I don't long-winded about that, but I just think it's weird. Like, what is that, like, hatred? Like, they've been kind enough to let you in. They're kind enough to help you out if you were in a bad situation at war or something, and then immediately, and it's not 100%, but like a lot of it, like 85% or something, I'd say, is like hostile immediately towards the local population. It's weird to me.
Yeah, and I wanted to finish up. I know I told you about an hour and a half, but I wanted to squeeze this in too. This is the Chabad Lubavitch Rebbe pushing for a melting pot in New York. And mind you, that Chabad Lubavitch are all about segregating themselves, definitely only marrying within their tribe, and supremacists. They're supremacists as well. And look at how he pushes melting pot for everybody else. Do as I say, not as I do.
Necessary, especially for the benefit of the multitude of nationalities in New York, that is a kind of a melting pot for many nations, and all these nations will live in good peace, in harmony, and every one of them will strengthen all the nations around him, especially in things of charity.
Amen.
Borough Park and Flatbush for the leader for Brooklyn.
This is my leader.
It's interesting that he mentions getting along in New York, because the Chabad Lubavitch in New York are getting knocked out by black people like almost every week, and the media is essentially covering it up because it doesn't go with their narrative. If it was a white person beating up Orthodox Jews in New York, it would be headline news. The ADL would never shut up about it. Never.
Yeah. You're right. I've seen actually quite a few of those that footage. It's very interesting, and you don't get much airplay in the media about that. Yeah, it's true.
Here we go. The melting pot will be so active.
So active that it will be not necessary to underline every time that they are Negro and they are white and they are Hispanic, etc., because they're no different.
No different. They're no different, but they're all goy, and they're the supremacist ones that are God's chosen.
Oh man,
I mean segregated.
And that term too was invented by Israel Zangwill. It was actually an English playwright who introduced a play titled "The Melting Pot" way back in the day. And this was never part of America's founding. If you go back and read like the national what do you call it again? The Naturalization Acts, right, of America, going from the late 1700s up to at least 1850s or something like that, I believe. That was very specific, that they were looking for white men of good character to enter and come into the United States. That's a lie, that it was always a melting pot, that America always was multicultural. It was not. It was many different ethnic groups from Europe, but even that was actually restricted in the beginning, right? It was a conscious effort of what they wanted to do. The language that they used at the time, in, for example, the founding documents and stuff like that, when they say all men are created equal, well, then you can say, oh, okay, so they didn't include women then, right? That what they meant when they said men was that they were talking about themselves. They were talking about free white men of good character, right? So that's a recent phenomenon. Melting pot, putting the plaque on the Statue of Liberty, Emma Lazarus, all that stuff is much, much, much more recent. That's propaganda. That's part of the guys we're watching right now and their agenda to make sure that America becomes diverse and it blends out, right?
That's what he says right here. Yeah, just a little bit
I
left.
said before, I'm not so happy about the underlining. There's heavy Brooklyn on one side and Manhattan on the second side. And then there are all the people in the Hispanic, etc. on the third side, which is a real melting pot.
Real melting
Actually,
pot.
it must be a melting pot for all good things. There's no difference here.
Oh, wow.
Just the double standard of them is just atrocious.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yep. Nope. They keep. We're now getting away with it, but again, this is people are waking up, and that's why they need to ban people. You know that, Adam. That's what it's about. Shut it down. Shut them down. Prevent them from speaking these ideas. Exposing the truth about this. They're worried about that. Very worried about that.
Shut it down. Could you
right.
imagine if you're a fly on the wall at YouTube when they finally decided to pull the plug? Susan Wojciak was like, "Shut it down! Shut it down!"
Yeah, I wonder who they got the final order from, but it was, and it seems kind of arbitrary too. I mean, again, I think sure it might have been in connection with the Greta Thunberg video, or something like that. But whatever. We don't know what it is. We can speculate, but now it's up to us to move on from here. Keep on fighting, getting the word out. Relying on good people out there, of course, to continue to follow our stuff, follow our material. We're still out there. We're not gone. We can't put all this power in the hands of YouTube, a hostile, massive corporation. We have to ensure that we have more reliable platforms. And of course, Red Ice already does. We've already built those up. Red Ice members, we host everything ourselves there. We simply just swapped out a little bit of code on the website, and now it's hosting at BitChute as opposed to YouTube previously, our videos and stuff like that. We self-host our audio archives on the redice.tv website, so people can check the podcast version and all that stuff there. We're still there. It's fine. It's like we're not going anywhere.
Everybody sub to their BitChute. I'm dropping in the chat right now. Make sure to subscribe to BitChute. It's very important. And bookmark the websites.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Adam, for that as well. And thank you for having me on and talking about all this. It's total madness, but believe me, it's not going to go on forever. It's not going to last. It's a small period right now. I think it's a short-term period when there's a reshuffling happening, and YouTube is shooting itself in the foot every single day. They're going to go under, especially at least for political content. Sure, it might be a platform in the future for like cable TV news, cat videos, unboxings, and makeup tutorials. But that's about it. If people want to have interesting political discussions, they're going to be forced to go to platforms that actually allow those interesting discussions and ideas to be discussed and take place. And that's just a matter of time, right? Before that pops up and before that option is there, they'll be able to monetize, they'll be able to have advertisement. All that stuff is coming. It's just a matter of time.
That's right. Well, thanks for joining me, Henrik, and keep up the good work. Everybody follow. All the links are in the description below. And we gotta stand up to these bullies and not let the censorship, not let them get the best of us. So we gotta really fight back and double down our efforts and not let them get away with their authoritarian tyranny.
That's right. On Wednesday, by the way, we're doing a long Halloween stream. The night before Halloween, October 30th, tune in. We're going to start at 6 p.m. Eastern. And I think right now, Europe has already gone off of the daylight savings time. So it's about 5 hours later there. Central Europe is, 5 hours later, Central European time. So that starts about, normally that would be, we start at 11, I think, the live streams, right? So it would be 6. So yeah, actually 11 p.m. then Central, because we're starting at 6 p.m. Eastern time. So check that out too if you're over in Europe. Obviously 11 p.m. Central European time, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Great show. A lot of things lined up, and maybe Adam will drop by as well if he has time later on. I know you're busy, but we'll get you on. We'll see what we can do.
I was there for the Halloween stream last year. I
yeah,
dressed
that's
up.
right.
Do you remember my outfit?
Yeah, it was great, the Antifa outfit. And by the way, Lana and I are going to wear the most offensive costumes imaginable. Well,
so you're just not going to dress up at all?
Yeah, that's right. That's a good one. I like that. I'll have to take that one.
I thought that's where you're going with it.
No, we're going as ourselves. Yeah, that's good. I like that. No, but check it out, folks. You definitely don't want to miss it. So we'll live stream to redice.tv/live, right? We have a live stream going there, and that's also going to be on dlive.tv/RediceTV. And we always put those up on redicemembers.com. It goes up on BitChute later if you can't tune in live. Of course, the website, Red Ice TV as well. But yeah, don't miss the live stream. It's coming up here. Great stuff October 30th. Yep.
And my final points, like, share, and subscribe. Let us know what you think in the comments. And I just wanted to give one final message to the ADL and the SPLC and Media Matters and whoever else at YouTube is watching, is because I'm sure you watch to the very end before you decide to delete my channel or take down this video for hate speech.
They get paid. They paid a mortgage watching your stuff, Adam.
Yeah.
They pay
this
their
was
bills.
This was a love stream. Nothing but love speech. It all comes from love.
That's right.
Right, Henrik?
That's correct. Absolutely. Everything we talk about is love. We don't have hate for
We
anybody.
hate racism. That's the only thing that we hate is racism.
Yeah, double standards. We hate lies. We love the truth, and it's important to get that out to the people out there. So yeah, that's a strong warning to everyone out there who is enemies of truth and enemies of love, that you're not gonna survive on that. That's not gonna work for you in the long run. So you better get off of that train, and get off of that wagon, and get on the right side of history.
Yep, you guys have all seen the movie before. The good guy wins in the end. So let that be a lesson to ADL. All right, thanks, Henrik. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Stay tuned for the next video, and I'll see you soon. And outro. Take care, guys.